What's going on, everybody? We're live with the weekly walk-off here every Sunday at 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Welcome into the chat, John, Miguel. I'm here. Nate's here. We are at the All-Star break. A couple of games to finish up, a couple of sweats to sweat out, but it's been a hell of a first half of the MLB season. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, man, it's been fun getting to learn this game with Sorare and all these different competitions. We've gathered a lot of data. Fun to kind of break it down at this halfway point and see what we've done so far.
Yeah, we'll take a look into, I don't know if all of you were here for our first episode or our predictions episode on the season, but we're going to dive into those, have a little bit of fun, see how our predictions have gone, make some new predictions going forward into the second half. Maybe some bold predictions. Maybe they tie into how we're building our galleries. Maybe they don't. That'll be a good conversation to have. And then just do a little bit of reflecting on, what we were able to yield this first half of the season and, how that's translated into how much fun we're having here on Sorare and just the baseball season overall. So take a look at some of the top performers. We could start it out by looking live into this game week before we jump into that. I know Nate's got a good sweat going on right now with my Giants.
Yeah, I can. I'll pull my screen share up here.
Happy Sunday, Brennan. Let us know in the chats, guys, how you're doing this week. Anybody get some big yields or anything like that? Ace, what's going on? I know you've been watching. I'm glad to see live in stream. We will throw it on here for Nate.
Got some action here in pro again. We'll see if I can hold out my first top 50 in pro. I'm not holding my breath, but I'd take a nice T2 limited. Although we don't have the night game tonight, right? Is there no Sunday night baseball?
No Sunday night baseball.
Yeah, so maybe we can squeak it out. But this was we were talking just before we went live here. This was my fourth lineup out of my four in terms of priority. I prioritized All-Star, and then I built out American and AL and NL after that. But like you and I have talked about, I still set this pro lineup with intention. I took my remaining Red Sox players versus the A's and my remaining Rangers versus Washington, and felt like there was still plenty of upside there. Nathaniel Lowe fell a little bit flat, but obviously Jarren Duran, Verdugo, Yoshida, and then you're always hoping to get 50 points between the two pitchers. So yep. Got a nice lineup here, and it wasn't the one that I thought was necessarily going to pop, but sometimes it comes together for you.
Sometimes it does. And definitely love the tip that you had last time where you're basically putting your pro lineup last, but with all the upside possible. And I kind of did the same exact thing this week, kind of followed your lead on that. And I really liked the lineup. Even though it wasn't my top priority lineup, I said I put guys in there like Arenado, who had a huge game week. Murphy, who had a huge game week, and then kind of did a little bit of a brave stack with Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna, who both have big upside. Didn't end up panning out, but love the strategy nonetheless.
I think a perfect example, and I didn't have the stones to do it, but Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts were two guys that had Ohtani as well, had 2 games. Easy to fade those guys when they only have 2 of the 3 possible games, and they were all worth playing this game week. So those are the kinds of things where a lot of people are going to fade them for that simple reason. I faded Mookie in my common lineup because of it, and the people that played him are going to get those points and the benefit of less usage.
Yep. Will Smith had a nice game week also. I mean, he had 44. I was talking to you earlier about like the number of contests that we've entered. And one of my things that I noticed was that I haven't yielded in a rare AL or NL since they switched over from common, like meshing those common cards. So since they've gone full rare on rare AL, rare NL, haven't yielded anything on those 2 competitions. But, there's still upside in these lineups that I'm setting here too. And I had Will Smith in that one. Some of these are just like, at this point, if you're not getting competitive with it, you might as well set them in there, see if something big happens. They get the training, the XP, all that stuff in general anyway. So a good question in here. Did anybody do the 3D thing last night?
I was going to ask you about that. I didn't have a chance to. I was in the car last night. I was driving back from a little family barbecue, but
I had personal
something?
plans also last night too. So let me know how that went. Did anybody get cards? I know that there was some chatter going on in the Discord about that. So that was fun. I peeked at that briefly, but then woke up early and just kind of, brushed it off a little bit.
Yeah,
Anybody have any?
if I had gotten home in time, I was going to do it. It was very much on my radar. It sounded like a cool thing. You had both digital ticket, like a commemorative ticket from Candy, and then you also had the So Rare cards that were going to be like a scavenger hunt type deal. So I tried to do it from my phone from the car, but it really needed to be on desktop. So
Got
it
it.
was or laptop, whatever. So would have liked to see what it looked like, and would love to hear what people's opinions were about it.
So there was a Candy and So Rare mesh into that
Yeah,
metaverse
which I
thing.
thought was
That's
great because
amazing.
they both had their own lane and they both made sense. Candy had the commemorative ticket, so Rare was giving away some of the limited cards for scavenger hunt. I think maybe there were more common cards that were getting given away. So only top 250 get a card. Okay.
It's just to be announced. So we haven't seen the winners yet. So keep us posted on that in the Discord or on Twitter. Tag us and all that kind of stuff. Nice. So I will say we got a 30-minute episode today. We're going to keep it a little bit tight. We're going to talk about the first half of the season, talk about some strategy. We don't have anything coming up on this episode for game week 30, which comes up on Friday. But we all need a break here too. So take a little bit of a relaxer. We'll go into at the end of the episode. I thought it'd be fun to take a look at the home run derby and put our home run derby brackets together.
Let's do it.
Always one of my most fun things to watch. I was at the derby last year.
Nice.
Got to see Soto win that. Got to see Julio. Incredible performance. Was a ton of fun. I got my Candy play of the day for that and my commemorative digital ticket too. So that was super cool to see.
I love the derby, man. So good.
It's so much fun, man. It's
Especially with the new format. I know we're probably 6 or 7 years into the new format at this point, but definitely better with the timed format compared to the 10 outs.
The matchups are ridiculous this year.
Yeah, the lineup's really good. It's really good.
Why? I'm I don't want to see Vladdy versus Alonso in the first. I don't think that's what it is, but I think they match up really quick, and my phone's charging, but I'll have to pull it up towards the end of the episode here. So, should we just dive into maybe the standings halfway through the season and see what we got? I have a couple of notes that I jotted down, and not quite sure if this is what we expected being here at the All-Star break mid-July. A couple of the things. Maybe I'll pull up here our predictions. Okay, let's take a look.
Yeah, I know that it's going to be ugly. I don't remember all my predictions, but I know that I was way too Padres heavy for this to be a good thing for me.
It may not be as ugly as you thought. We had the three of us making our division predictions, and here they are right here. We also took predictions for Cy Young, MVP, World Series, and NL champs. So I want to hear in the chats who you guys all thought was going down too. But here is what we had. I mean, I had the Blue Jays, you had the Yankees, Greg had the Blue Jays in the AL East, and looks like the Rays are all about. They haven't ran away with it. It's still a
honestly,
really tight division.
I still firmly believe that any one of the 5 teams could win that division. I really do feel that way. Judge being hurt really hurts them, and the Red Sox rotation being hurt continues to be the plague of that team. But they're 8-2 over their last 10. Any one of these teams could get hot and run away with this thing, or not run away with it, but take it.
I agree with you there. I had a couple of predictions, and I don't think the Rays are going anywhere. I think they sneak in some way or another. But I definitely think that 3 of these teams, in addition to the East champ, could get into the MLB playoffs. I mean, it's that crazy. And to be honest, my hot take is that would be at the expense of the Texas Rangers, which is crazy to think about with that run differential, how well they've been playing. They're on a little bit of a downhill slide. I think pitching is going to make the huge difference going into the second half, just like Ace said down here. And Ace Ace looks like an O's fan. He says it's Birdland time, and Ace, I don't know. I mean, you know what? I was thinking that they weren't going to be able to hold up, but then you got Kyle Gibson just looking like a stud out there today, and he's been looking really good as of late. So don't know. Ace also says that the Rangers won't make the playoffs, and I don't know. It's going to be crazy.
I believe that I just heard that this is the first time all 5 teams in a division have finished the first half over 500.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That is a lot of fun. I mean, like, everyone was excited about that division going into it, right? From a So Rare standpoint, while we're on the AL East, like, one of my notes on the So Rare end was I go as the Jays go. So, I mean, I had a good first half. Like, I was clicking on all levels. I had guys like Chapman, Varsho, put it like Vladdy, Bichette, like putting up big numbers. And as they slumped, I've gone on a cold streak and So Rare. So the gallery was kind of built that way. I love that offense. It's hard not to. Hopefully they pick it back up second half of the year. Maybe they just need a little bit of a break. I think the Yankees are going to have to. I mean, the fact that they're 49-41 right now is honestly kind of incredible. Like, with how banged up they've been all season long. The Sox just hanging in there, just tough. I mean,
their offense is still so good. They've got an entire starting rotation on the IL right now. Like, they're grinding. It's a scrappy team. It's fun to watch. I love watching them every day. If you get Sale back and Bayo keeps pitching right, there's, Whitlock, all of it. They could be right there. It would be cool to see 4 of these teams make the playoffs.
It would be, definitely. What else do we got here? Let's take a look at the Central.
Yeah, we all went Guardians. We all went Astros.
We all went Guardians. We all went Astros. I'm staying pat on the Astros. I think they get the job done. Javier has looked a little suspect, not a little suspect, a lot suspect. Hunter Brown is hit or miss. Had a rough outing last time after looking dominant for a couple innings. Just kind of lost it in the fourth. So they're going to need to figure it out. They've been injury riddled as well. I thought I saw a comment down here in terms of like pitching acquisitions in the second half. The trade deadline's August 1st. So, I mean, we're knocking on the door. Who's going to be buying, who's going to be selling? You think any big moves are going to go down?
I mean, we've definitely seen more stuff happen. I feel like over the last few years, the trade deadline has gotten a little bit more exciting. I think that it keeps coming back to the AL East for me. I'm biased, but it's also just so interesting as a MLB headline. Like, could you have 5 teams buying in the same division? Like, how cool would that be? So I really hope that the Red Sox don't do anything head scratching like they did last year. But yeah, I think that, you got Guardians and Twins that anybody could take that. Rangers and Astros, there's a lot of really good races, and all coming back to the AL East, but Rangers and Astros, they need to win that division, and Guardians, Twins even more, right? If you don't take the division, you could be outside looking in. So it's a really interesting race in the AL.
For sure. I mean, if 5 teams are buying, then that means some teams got to be selling, right? I mean, of course, we're looking at the Central and the West. So some names that could be on the market. I mean, like the White Sox have those 3 arms that are possible trades: Cease, Lynn, Giolito. Maybe somebody gets picked up there. We've heard some rumblings from the Tigers. The Tigers are the Tigers are hanging in there. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
5.5 games back in the division. I mean, they haven't looked terrible, and they're getting healthy.
And they're throwing no hitters.
They're throwing no hitters. Hold on, who threw a no hitter on the?
It was by committee. It was Manning. Did you not see that? That's why Toronto got messed up.
The Jays. Yeah. Oh my goodness! I was out yesterday on a boat, pretty not tied in. I know Manning was.
I think Manning went 6 2/3, and then I forget who was in the middle, and Lane closed it out. Combined no hitter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing by the Jays. I mean, with those bats in the lineup, my goodness. Well, I got no hit. What else? I mean, the Mariners. The Angels could be selling also. What do we think? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they lose
it's
Trout
hard.
for 1 to 2 months. Where's Ohtani going to end up ultimately? You know, the Angels are as a baseball fan, they're such a frustrating team. And I know this isn't a hot take by any means, but God, it's just more the same from the LA Angels.
Injuries. I mean, like injury ridden.
Yeah.
It's tough to see a team go through that. I mean, like the Giants have been there before.
Mm-hmm.
The Sox, of course. But it's just being at that 500 mark at the deadline is always a make or break. You never know what's gonna go down there. So John Riley in the chat saying Foley might be a trade from Detroit. Lange, I've heard the same thing. People looking to bolster their bullpens.
Mm-hmm.
Aroldis Chapman went to the Rangers since we last talked. So there's a couple of things going down. Still not a ton of action on the trade market, but it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Who do you ultimately ends up taking the Central?
I'm sticking with the Guardians. I just like them more at this. I think that they're the slightly better team, but it's real close. I don't think either one goes very far, regardless of who makes it.
Yep. I'm sticking with you on that too. I'm sticking Guardians, but I don't think they make it far. I think they're getting knocked out by whatever 6 seed or 5 seed that they play from the AL East. Mm-hmm. I could see literally the same thing happening as last year, Yankees Guardians. So
yep.
That's kind of what I had on the sheet here. And I tried to put that. I didn't really finish up my my little bracket. It still say Pat, but yeah, that's where I'm leaning anyways. We all had the Stros in the West. You sticking Stros or are you riding with the Rangers?
I wanna ride with the Rangers, but I have to agree with you. I just think that the Stros have been there. They've been doing it. I don't know. It could really go either way. That Rangers lineup is just insane, just truly insane. Sucks that they lost to Grom. But yeah, I think that Valdez for Houston is just one of the best pitchers in the bigs, and hopefully Javier can turn it around. So I think I got to stick with my guns, sticking with the Astros.
Same here. I mean, how long has Jordan been out? And
yeah, too long, because it's been tough not having him for Sorare. But he's been swinging. He should be back shortly after the All-Star break, I think. So hopefully they have him back real soon.
Your boy Tucker's heating up.
He is.
He's looking good.
Yep, looking real good.
On a tear. He snuck into the All-Star game too, so good for him.
Nice. I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
I've got him, Jordan. I've got Pena, who's been rough all year, but I might grab a Bregman or one or two other cards to round out that stack as well.
Yep. I kind of am thinking the same. A conversation that we can have. I mean, I think maybe it's a good time now, but as we wrap up, maybe in between here and when we go into the NL, how much are you basing your gallery going forward on the postseason? I have a couple of different thoughts on it. The way that they did it with the NBA is going to kind of translate into how they're doing it with the MLB. I hope not. So we'll talk about that in a second. But what was I going to say? I mean, yeah,
I think the key on that is to split the conversation into common versus paid, right? So what you're referring to with the NBA piece, I think, is specifically to the free game, right?
Not quite.
No, okay. I didn't realize that.
Not quite. So the paid version wasn't a super hit on the NBA either. And I had sold at that point to kind of prep for the MLB season because I just knew I didn't have a deep enough gallery for the NBA playoffs. Next year I'm hoping that changes up and that I have a little bit more well-rounded, a little bit deeper of a gallery so that I can compete in the playoffs. But the prize pool was brought down significantly. So you're not working with the same prizes. People do what I did, right? And if they don't have a big enough gallery to compete in the paid side of things, then the competition is going to drop off. Also, it's going to be very top heavy. It's going to look a lot different. And I know it wasn't a great experience for a lot of people on the NBA side of things. But like you said, for me, the the common side of it was not great either. So hopefully they learn from that. I mean, what ended up happening was as long as you were one day ahead, you were still able to trade out your good cards for people who are going to be in the next round. So, the Lakers get eliminated, trade in LeBron, get Jokic, right? Like it was that easy. And it ended up being all based on experience. Like there were the top 25, 30, 40 lineups were the exact same lineup for the most part. So wasn't a ton of fun. The way that the prizes panned out weren't great. But last year, I thought the MLB did a really good job with that. So if anybody was playing in the MLB during the postseason last year, let us know. I pulled a common in the first round of the MLB, or I pulled a limited from the commons. So was able to place and yield on one of those, and it was pretty fun. But let me see here.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that the most fun way to have common work for playoffs is that you do have to account for it in your swaps. Like if they decided to take all the parameters off of limiting the size of your gallery, you could be using your swaps every day to be getting guys that you think are going to be in the playoffs. So to your point, you don't want it to just be that everybody can now swap into the guys that are still alive. You should have to be bringing a gallery that is going to be able to, even as it gets withered down by teams getting knocked out, you might even be starting a lineup that has a guy in it that's not playing, but you've got enough star power that you can place anyway. That seems like a much more balanced game to be playing as you go into it.
To that extent, like just strategizing on who is going to make it deep in the playoffs leading up to the playoffs, like is perfect. That's where these trade-ins, right? Like we already have enough, for the most part, big guys to fill the nice roster every week, right? It's almost overwhelming at this point setting a majors roster or sorry, a common all-star roster. Now we could focus on trading in our lower tier guys. I mean, even a guy like Martin Maldonado could be a valuable player in the playoffs because there's a lot more disparity when it comes to building out your rosters with a more limited pool of teams. So
those tier 3, tier 4 guys on playoff teams all of a sudden become valuable if you're smart enough to go swap those in and out. So I think that it feeds the swap system, which is good for getting people to come back every day, and it creates a more gamified experience going into the actual contest itself. And then on the paid side, it's still a good parallel conversation because the cards of the guys on teams that are in the playoffs are inevitably going to increase in value. And so the common equivalent of that should be getting your collection ready to have the right guys to outlast that withering player pool. So it's you mentioned the relevance of playoffs this offseason to me, and it's been on my radar from the first card that I bought. It doesn't mean that I'm not buying limited cards on teams that aren't making the playoffs. I've been stacking the Red Sox all year. I don't know if they're making the playoffs or not, but I'm certainly happy to have guys from the Rangers, the Astros. I've got some guys from Arizona. It's relevant as it's not dictating everything that I do, but it's in the equation with everything that I consider.
Yep. It's in the equation for me for sure too. I would love to get some sort of direction from Sorare within the next month or so that I can, continue to further build like both the limited gallery, the rare gallery, and even the common collection too, going into what that format's going to be like. I think it'd be really sweet to know just so we're able to kind of make those decisions. One of the things that I've thought about myself is just having an arm in the bullpen for each of the teams that are going to be going into the playoffs. So you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't have to be the closer, just the guy who's going to be getting appearances, maybe making holds, right? Not all the starters are going to be going like they always will be. In the NBA, they changed the format to a full week format instead of 2 game weeks. They did not do that with MLB last year, if I remember correctly. So who knows? I mean, like that's
crazy oversight, by the way. Like I really hope they learn from that because that makes absolutely no sense. You can't have the length of a series dictating the importance of a card. Like that's bad game meta.
Yeah, it was head scratching a little bit, but I mean, they do learn quickly. I mean, everything NBA hasn't always been. I mean, they're 2 different games, right?
For sure.
So different strategies on each of them. But it's also interesting to take that in mind too, because you never know, like say you yield a T5, right? And it is a, middle reliever that is on a playoff team. And it's like, do you sell it now? Do you hang on to it? Is the value going to go up? Is it going to hold? Can you flip it into something like, there's a lot of implications based on what the rules are. So the sooner we know those, the better. We'll be able to strategize and then just kick butt, going into the playoffs, into the off season. So, sure. I mean, I have a lot of things that aren't going to sell. I mean, like, yes, it's nice to trim the gallery going into the second half, but, and you can always buy lower again, buy the same card for lower price. That's great. If you can, amazing. But sometimes you just got to stay pat too and hang on to that as the value dips going into next season, just knowing that it's going to rise again. So
for sure.
Let's take a look at the NL. My goodness, the St. Louis Cardinals. Brendan, where are you at in the chats? That is rough. We had the Cards across the board, and the Cards are in dead last with. Let me see here. I guess we're talking Central first, with the Reds up at the top, the Brewers right behind them, and then the Cubs in third. The Pirates got off to a hot start, have died off significantly. Any shot at all for the Cards?
No. No.
No. I mean,
it's rough.
I was listening to John Boy on Talking Baseball this week. I mean, they said the Cards RIP. It's just tough how many close games that they lose. Brennan, Anger, I feel you. That I mean, just over and over, the bullpen just blows it for them. It's just so frustrating. I mean, like, it leads to the next conversation, like, what managers are getting fired soon? I mean, Ollie Marmol's got to go. Who else? I mean, I
don't get what they were doing with Wainwright the same way that I don't understand what Arizona was doing with Bumgarner. Like, these guys are done. I get that they are historically incredible pitchers and were great for the game, but like, I haven't looked into it. I don't know if Wainwright's actually hurt or phantom hurt, but why did it take that many horrible outings for this guy to go on the IL? Yeah. It's just, you're conceding it every fifth day.
Yeah. The Mad Bum situation was a little bit different. I mean, the Giants let him go. They let him walk. So, I mean,
I'm saying with Arizona, why is Arizona even playing? Like, he's just so bad. He's so bad.
It was rough there. It was rough to watch. I hated seeing that after, how big of a Giants legend that he was. But
yeah, they're both legends, but there's a expiration date on this career.
Yeah. I mean, even Verlander's not looking like he used to look. So hopefully he can turn the corner, but which he's had. I think he had a sharp outing recently, but and in no way am I putting him on the Wainwright Bumgarner level yet. But yeah, I mean, older arms are older arms,
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Reds have really come on strong lately. I have them as hanging on, to be honest. I don't know. It's just
so good.
Yeah.
Like, now I get that this is going to ebb and flow because it's a cat and mouse game. They figure out what he's good at. They move away from it. He's got to readjust, et cetera, et cetera. So it can't go on forever, but he is absolutely electric. It is so much fun to watch. He is so athletic. He's so instinctual. Like, I assume you saw him steal second, third, and home.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? I've never seen anything like that. There were 2 pitches thrown. 2. Across 2 pitches, he stole every base. Insane. The dude's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it on my I picked him up early in fantasy baseball, and I saw him. I'm like, oh wow, LA 3 steals. You gotta love that. Just padding that category for the week for me.
He's got 17 steals in like a month of playing.
Yeah, but by no means is it just Ellie De La Cruz on that team. I mean, they are just raking.
Yes.
I mean, like, and they're not slowing down, and their arms are getting better. I mean, like, they're getting really quality outings.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Those arms had that upside. They're all so young. And Spencer Steer, to your point, like they've got bats. It's a good team.
Yeah, it is. Who knows if they end up holding on? It looks more and more. I mean, the Cubs are sitting at 41 and 47. It looks more and more like they are going to have to sell. Just punt to next season, basically. I mean, like they have a lot of good quality in that system on that team. But it's looking more like it's not going to happen this season for them. It's getting a little bit too late. 41 and 47. You can't be too confident in that moving forward into the deadline. So Bellinger potentially getting moved. That could be really interesting to see. But who knows?
I think that Milwaukee is still a really interesting team. I think that a guy like Corbin Burns has such a up and down first half. He's had some great starts. He's had some serious clunkers. You take a few of those clunkers away and they've got 3, 4, 5 more wins on the first half. So I think that if he can get hot and get back to where he's capable of pitching at, that's a guy that changes the whole trajectory of your season just single-handedly. So there's a lot of talent on that team. I think Rowdy Tellez is hurt right now. Willie Adames went through a really long cold streak. He's kind of bouncing back a little bit right now. Yelich is having a good year. So the Brewers are legit. Those are two fun teams, the Reds and the Brewers.
Yep. Totally. I agree. A couple of things since we're on the NL Central. I want to say that my worst call of the season was selling Spencer Steer's rare. I want him as a tier 3. And the reason why I did it, first of all, I didn't think he was going to get that hot. Obviously, I wouldn't have sold him if I did. Sold it right before that. My mindset was that, everything's going to go down as the season goes, right? So you might as well get your money while you can.
Mm-hmm.
I got hit with the worst 1-2 punch combo that you could get. The Reds get incredibly hot, and Steer is, one of the guys up there leading the charge. And I just kind of underestimated the amount of supply that was going to be released on him. Since he didn't have a ton of cards out, I thought they were going to flood it a little bit more than they did, which is a good thing that they didn't. But I played it safe and, walked away with, I think, $25 or $30 as opposed to, probably being able to get 80 for it. So learning lesson, $25-$30 is better than nothing, and
it can go either way. Go either way, right? Like I won Jared Kelenic early on this year. I could have sold him right then and there for $35. He was on a tear. I should have sold him. I knew I should sell him. I held him and I sold him the other day for $10. So it's like, it can go in either direction. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I won a Lewis Robert at one point. I sold it for like $30. He was on the rise. I think he's like a $50 card now, but there have been others too, where, I sold it right away and then they tanked half of price. So it kind of just depends on where your gallery is at when you win that prize. You can't second guess it too much. You get a yield, you want to turn it into ETH and funnel that into something that fits your current strategy. It's tough to second guess that. So, but yeah, obviously that one stings a little bit. But I wanted to add to what you said about how Sorare has kind of tempered the auctions and all that. I've been keeping close tabs on that all year because I wanted to see it being handled, in a way that didn't flood the market. And it feels like they've done an excellent job of letting on-field performance dictate floors, not the rate of their auctions. And it was the most important factor that I wanted to see play out. And I'm looking forward to continuing to watch it for the second half as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought they did a really good job with that in NBA too. So I was kind of expecting it, but also again, still pleasantly surprised based on the way that supply goes in the NFT space, right? It's just, it's a hard thing to get right. And it's cool that they have their, fingers on the pulse of things like that for the most part. So that's definitely cool to see. The other thing is it's cool to see Yelly having a nice bounce back year. I wish I would have put, my money where my mouth was preseason on a lot of different things. Was looking to build kind of like the right gallery, a slim gallery. Yelich was one of those guys that I wanted to pull the trigger on and make the bet on. Had I done it, would have been in a lot better position than I am now, but decided not to. And, I could think of a couple other guys who I was buying and doing things like that. Pablo Lopez, one of them, has looked really good as of late too, and started the season off really good. But yeah, just a couple of those guys who, if would have pulled the trigger, then it would have been cool to hold and see, on the upswing this season. So anything else in the Central? Should we pop back over to the East?
Yeah, let's do it. All
right. East, I mean, the Braves are amazing.
Yep.
It's so much fun to watch them play baseball, man.
So good.
Their whole entire lineup, man. Like, if there's a Braves game on, like, chances are I'm trying to watch that as like one of my top priority games. I projected Acuna as the NL MVP too. Wasn't a tough choice, but he also wasn't one of the top. Maybe he was in the top 5, but not one of the top 3 guys projected at MVP. So he's having an incredible season. His steal,
great call,
unreal. And we all had the Braves as well. So let's talk. Let's talk Marlins, Phillies, Mets real quick. Nats, those guys are going to sell some players, and I don't think they've looked terrible. Actually kind of been fun to watch, but the Mets, 18 games back. They're still in the hunt for the wild card. Phillies are in the lead for the wild card, and then the Marlins are in the lead for the wild card. So the Marlins just looking really good. Still have a negative run differential with a, let me see here, 53-39 record. So
it's nuts. Shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
To me, the Phillies are the team to watch there. I just still believe offense is too good. Got some great starting pitching in that staff, and have still scraped together a really solid first half despite underperforming for a lot of it. Harper has only hit 3 home runs so far. That's going to change. He's going to turn things on. So yeah, to me, the Phillies are going to move their way up that line. I know that you had said that you think that Arizona is going to fall off. I think that whole division is super interesting, and we'll talk about that one last. But we'll see what Miami does. I'm not sold yet. I think that they've been impressive, and sometimes teams get hot, but I think that there's some more legit teams in the mix there.
To be honest with you, I haven't watched a ton of them. I'm not 100% sold yet either. I watched the Giants series when they took on the Giants in Miami. I know their pitching staff looks pretty good. Yuri Perez has been good, aside from the Braves start. I listened to this the other day too, and so they're 53-39. They are 1-9 against the Braves this year.
Wow.
So 9 of those 30 losses are to the Atlanta Braves, which is absolutely insane to think about. I mean, yeah, I don't know what to think about that division, but I tend to agree with you that the Phillies are going to make their way into the playoffs, get really sneaky, be a really dangerous team to match up as a wild card team. And probably even I have them taking out the Dodgers in the first round as the NL West champs. So to see the Phillies get hot, do again what they did last year, the experience that they have, it's in the cards for them. So
agreed.
All right. Mets I don't think are dead either. I think they have it's tough with their pitching, I don't know.
I'm out on the Mets. There's only so many mouths that can get fed, and I think the Mets are going to keep metting.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's a fair take. I don't know. I just, something about me just likes, I don't know. I'm a big Frankie Lindor guy, so whatever.
He's hot. He's playing good baseball.
Yeah, definitely as of recent. So is Francisco Alvarez too. That kid is just lighting it up. I think he got, I don't know when he got called up, but he's got 17 homers. So
he's playing good baseball.
Yeah. Would love to see Lindor back in Cleveland. That would be pretty cool, but I don't know.
Unlikely, I think.
Unlikely for sure. I think somebody was saying that Cleveland is looking for a shortstop though. So see how that goes. But All right. We'll finish it off with the NL West. I think the Diamondbacks are getting booted from the playoffs. I was really starting to believe in the Giants. I'm, biting my nails at this point. It's going to be a close one. Don't know if I would put my money on them making it in, but would obviously love to see it.
Mhm.
Pitching again is going to be a tough one too. We'll see what we do at the deadline. It's fun to see how young and like exciting that we are with the young guys that we've called up this year. Been a lot of fun to watch, but but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, to me, obviously the safest money, and they haven't been in first all along, but they are now. But Dodgers just have so much experience. It's a great team. Mookie's having MVP caliber season right now. JD Martinez remembered how to hit. Freddie Freeman is incredible. And then they've got pitching. So, but I still think that is one of the most exciting divisions. I think Arizona, San Francisco, and even San Diego are all still in the mix. It's impossible to feel like the Padres can't go on a crazy, 18-3 run that all of a sudden they're right back in it. So that division is fun, and I think that whoever gets hot at the right time is gonna get themselves a playoff berth. But it's a fun one to watch. It's pretty similar to, I mean, it's not the AL East, but there's a lot of good teams in that division.
Yeah, they play good baseball. I don't know. The Padres, I'm not sold on the Padres being able to make any kind of run at this point.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, the talent's there. They can make it happen. People are talking about Hader and Blake Snell being on the trade block, though. So
yeah, and if that's the route they go, then obviously that all goes out the window.
Yeah. So it will be fun to see. I'm excited for the second half of the year. Don't know if we forgot anything overall when it comes to Sorare. The second half of the season. I had a couple other notes here. We could punt it off or talk about it if you want. Maybe just wrap it up with, how have you yielded this first half, and then we can take a look at the home run derby. We're both kind of in similar boats.
Yeah, we were talking about it just before. I'm going to yield 2 this week, and it's looking like you're not going to yield, which will put you at 35 and me at 34 with our total yields on the first half. So I've tracked everything. I've had a good number of tier 2 and tier 3 limiteds that I've picked up through the season. I've sold 163 worth of yields, let's call it, and then I've held on to about $100 worth of cards.
Nice.
All in the first half, all limited. Played about 2 contests for the first 10 weeks, and then I've been playing all 4 since then, just to get a little frame of reference. But yeah, to me, I wanted to see that there was going to be some ability to not necessarily win big every single week, but be able to be competitive. And you knew that I wasn't going to recoup my investment on my collection right away. That's not the point, but wanted to see that it wasn't just the same teams winning every week, that you needed just the absolute studs. And I've got good players, but like we've talked about, we don't have the Otanis and the Acuñas and the Mookies and every single one of those. So I've felt really good about the balance of the game. Am I competing for a podium every week? Far from it. But if you're in the mix for tier 3s and get yourself some tier 2s, and I've had a couple good big weeks where I've got a 4th place and a 5th place finish. So it's got real close to a podium a couple times. So yeah, to me, it's less about exactly what my results have been and more just, do I feel like I'm competitive? Do I feel like, for a reasonable amount of investment on a gallery, is it a game that you can see over the long run, that you can make some positive yield on it? And so far the answer has been yes. So I've been enjoying tracking it, and it's fun data to look at. And I've got one more piece of commentary on All-Star versus Pro, but I want to hear what your take has been on your yields so far first.
Yeah. I mean, you've been having an awesome season, man. I'm happy with what I've yielded so far. I've been on a cold streak lately. I said early on, like, I go as the Jays go, right? Like, I've been doing a lot of Jays stacks. So if they have a great week, I'm looking pretty good. That's particularly in, stuff like rare all-star. Like my biggest yield so far was 8th place in rare all-star. Came in 4th in common all-star. And then 6th is my other top 10 finish in limited NL. But like the 8th in AL all-star was really kind of like a J stack, right? So a good week from the Jays. Really could have like kind of brought it home, but had I think Chapman or Belt like strand the bases loaded at the very end. Like it's fun to sweat those out, but playing the right guys in there, super fun. Ended up yielding a Felix Bautista, sold it for $100, which is awesome. So I think one of the themes for me has been, you know, like the go big or go home, or just to yield, consistently, like consistency versus boom or bust, right? And I think you have to kind of take a look at that each and every single week and kind of reevaluate it from like square one based on what the matchups are going to be. So it's really hard to go dive into like a hard dead set strategy for me. And that's kind of been the fun part about playing this first whole half of the season. Cause I didn't play So Rare last season either. I played the commons. The game was completely different and it was fun. But I didn't put any money behind it or anything like that. So learning this half of the first season has been a lot of fun too. Have made some mistakes, have learned from them. And that's going to kind of continue going on. But I think, 35, yields, some of these cards, like you said last time, like even a $1, $2 yield, like can make a difference. Like playing the Sandlot, winning $1 or $2, right? Yeah. Like you stack a couple of those up, I think I won a couple of, $5 is great, right? Like you win a Dansby Swanson, you win a Benintendi, like some of the bigger names who may not even be performing in, the tier 3, tier 4s. You can still get $5, add that to a card, buy somebody with a little bit more value, and then either keep it or flip it on later on. So, the boomer bust also kind of goes hand in hand with how many competitions you're playing and then how big like your gallery is. Like it's great to have a deep gallery, but like the funds aren't unlimited. Right. So, especially for me, going in between the rare and the limited competitions, like I think what you said last week about setting lineups with intention, with upside, right? That's gonna like, playing the contrarian sometimes, like that's the fun part about it. Like I may come in dead last, but I also may come in first,
right?
So that's super fun. And I'm going to play a little bit more of that, just like getting a little bit smarter than I was this first half of the season going into the second. And then I think also just exercising a little bit more patience on the buys, right? Like really knowing who I want, why I want them, if it's going to be a long-term hold or if it's somebody that I'm just looking to stream, with a little bit more focus on the long-term holds for me, maybe trying to identify some value even if they're not going to produce like immediately. I think I'm okay with that. But again, I don't want to just spend and just have the guy sit there for forever either, knowing that the off season is going to come. There's going to be more buying opportunities and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Long-winded answer, but it's been a hell of a fun learning experience the first half of the season, and I'm excited to go into the second.
Yeah, I mean, the learning experience has been the fun of it. I think that we're going to have a lot more intention with the way that we are going about it in the second half. And my favorite thing that you said there was that each week is different. You have to look at your gallery each week and decide how you're going to set your lineups based on what you have. And so everybody's playing this differently. Some people are setting one common all-star lineup. Some people are setting all 8 limited and rares. Me personally, I'm just playing the 4 limiteds plus Sandlot and the common. But depending on what your grouping of contests are that you're entering, it's finding out how to balance your gallery in a way that is the most likely to yield something for you. So if you only have enough cards for one really good lineup, then you should absolutely be prioritizing that first and thinking about everything else second. I'm at a point with my gallery that sometimes I decide to pull one guy from my priority lineup in order to keep him in a stack with his team because I have another guy that's good enough to backfill. That's like, okay, I still have the same type of upside. And now I've got 2 lineups that I really like instead of just one. So stacks are really important for that. The Red Sox have been that for me all year. I've gotten all those cards so cheap and it has paid off because they're one of the better offenses in the MLB in any given game. And so that has allowed for some really good games. And it's look at my pro lineup this week. It was my fourth lineup, but I knew that guys like Jarren Duran, Yoshida, Verdugo had upside against the A's, even though they hadn't really been performing as of late. And like you said, I could have come in last, but they all started hitting and it worked out. So knowing how to balance all of that so that I feel like I've got at least 3 of those 4 lineups that I'm like, yeah, these could play this week. And if I've got something that I feel is really high upside, like I've got a Texas stack and they've got 4 games in a 4-game week, then I might put that in my pro as a priority. And if I've got some tougher matchups, but I've just got a lineup of 7 guys that I really like, then it's probably going into All-Star that week to just lower that competition bar a little bit and try and just yield something. So I go about it differently each week, but I've got different categories that I understand I'm trying to achieve depending on that game week. So
yep. Yeah, no, that's really well put. I mean, I think another thing that's fun too is like, building those stacks. Like the more experience that you have, right, in playing these games and going through the game week after game week. I mean, we have had 30 of them so far, nearly 29 game weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you get to know your gallery a little bit more, like the back of your hand too, right? Like I'm able to just jot down a note here and just be like, okay, what are my priority roster needs right now? Like I'm looking at my notes on my phone and it's like, okay, I know like a rare NL closer and a rare AL closer are both priority needs for me right now, because, I'm able to set one of those as one of my 2 pitchers in the All-Star or, having one just solid guy that I could put in those lineups each week are going to make a huge difference. I can't take a 0 from Pierce Johnson anymore in the NL. I mean, he's not always putting up zeros, but that goes back to the depth that I have in closers in the limited now, because I did make that a priority. And knowing that I have guys like Camilo, Clase, and like have paid up for a couple of those guys, Presley, like with the options to insert them when and deploy them when needed, is super important. But I don't have that flexibility in rare. So I need to pick my couple guys and just play the boom or bust route there, get them for $20 or under, call it a day, like it's an auto set in that lineup. So,
and there's nothing worse than setting a lineup with like 5 or 6 cards that you feel are worthy and then putting in a guy that's, you're punting. Now you're just wasting all the money you spent on the rest of the cards in that lineup. Like
right.
You may as well just sell them all and put that into the other lineup that you're prioritizing.
True.
So that's been the balance for me as I've decided to grow my collection through the first half. Like I said, in the beginning, I really only had 1 lineup worth playing and I had the extras in the second. And as I got to like, okay, this second lineup is close to being competitive, put a little more into it. And I just did it piece by piece and assessed it slowly. I didn't dive in too quickly, but figured out a couple lessons at a time. And that allowed me to have more intention with how I was going about buying certain cards and certain stacks. And that has made it really easy for me to decide what I'm going to do when I do yield, because either that card fits, like you said, fits a need, either a stack that I've been working on, or it's a good enough card that it's like, okay, I need a reliever, I need an outfielder, or it doesn't and I sell it. And then I buy something that I actually do need. So it's become a very simple decision at this point.
Nice. Yep. A lot of fun, a lot more fun to be had going into the second half of the season. And then, even into next year, man, I think this is going to be a blast for years to come here. So really quickly, let's take a look at the home run derby. I'm going to fill out my bracket on MLB Play. I just got into this MLB Play app, and it's super fun. Nice. I wake up and I'm playing pickle first thing in the morning.
I'll pull up the bracket.
Okay, so yeah, some of these matchups are just like, I don't want to see either of these guys lose. Like I don't want these 2 guys matched up. Luis Robert and Adley Rutschman is a 1 seed versus an 8 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena, 4 seed versus a 5 seed. Mookie Betts versus Vladdy, 3 versus a 6. Pete Alonso, Julio Rodriguez, a 2 versus a 7. Started at the top. I'm taking Luis Robert Jr. over Adley. What do you think?
I'm taking Robert.
Yeah. I mean, he's been hot.
Yep.
Adley, who knows what he'll bring to the home run derby, but I don't know. I just see Lou Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Garcia and Randy.
Give me Adolis. I've been enjoying his home runs all year. Give me some Adolis. That guy can hit a ball far.
There we go. He definitely can. Give me Randy. He's too Showtime.
Yeah, he's
I
so
think
showtime.
he was born for the home run
He
derby,
was,
and
man.
that's the only reason why I'm taking Randy.
That's going to be a great matchup.
I could see him winning the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Mookie, Vladdy.
I'm going Mookie. He's locked in right now. You don't have to hit it 450 feet to win the home run derby. He, over his last 2 weeks, has like 2 singles to go along with 8 doubles and 7 home runs or something like that. He's just barreling the ball. So give me Mookie.
I like it. Give me Vladdy.
I knew you would.
slower to it right now, but I mean, he's been in the home run derby before. This man was made for the home run derby. The violence in that guy's swing is just awestrucking to me. Mookie is one that I think if he gets past Vladdy, he could run away with it too and win the whole thing. You're like, for the exact reasons that you just said, he doesn't have to hit the ball 500 feet. Like he could poke these home runs out. And I mean, he's obviously got the stamina, probably more so than any of these guys in the contest, just to put good swings and barrel the ball. So that'll be a fun one, man. This is going to be a fun derby. Hometown kid, J-Rod and Pete Alonso. I'm rolling with Pete for the experience. Just for the fact that you never bet against Pete Alonso in the home run derby, but I saw J-Rod firsthand last year, and that was crazy.
Yeah, and he's in home stadium, like such a good storyline. But yeah, you can't bet against Pete here. Pete lives for this contest, and he's real good at it. So it's tough that one of them is going to get bounced in the first round, but you got to go Pete.
I hate that first round matchup. I mean, put J-Rod against Adley.
Yeah.
The semifinals. Okay, I have Luis Robert versus Randy. You have Lou Bob versus Adolis. Who do you have going to the final from that bracket?
I'll take Adolis again there.
I'll take Adolis again. I'm taking Luis.
Okay.
Yeah, Luis Robert over Randy. I don't know. He's the man.
He's so good, right? Like I bought his limited like 2 months ago when it was like $17 or something like that. And then it was pure luck. I was buying a stack that I liked in a given game week. It wasn't even a Robert play. I bought like him, Vaughn, Jimenez.
Yep, I remember that week.
Just went whoosh, and then I won another one, sold it at like 30 because I already had one, obviously. And yeah, so I've been enjoying Lou Bob in the first half here.
Love it. Yeah, he's a beast. I could also see Randy winning it, but I want to see Lou Bob just hit some missiles. So, and then the next one, you had Mookie, and we both had Pete. Who do you have moving on to the final?
You know what? For the sake of having a unique bracket here, I'm gonna stick with Mookie.
You're gonna stick with Mookie?
Yep.
I am. This is my one that I haven't decided on yet, and give me Vladdy. Give me Vladdy.
Yep.
So you have.
I've got Mookie and Adolis.
Mookie and Adolis. I have Luis Robert and Vladdy. I'm taking Vladdy to win it.
I'm going Adolis Garcia.
Adolis Garcia and Vladdy are our two picks.
Mm-hmm.
My hope here is that Vladdy uses this as momentum to launch into the second half and help out everything that I have on Sorare MLB.
Love it.
All right. We have I think that's about it. We'll call it a day from here. I am excited for the MLB draft. I'll be tuned into it. I guess I know a handful of the guys that are up for, the first couple of picks, Cruz, Skeens, those type of players. Really, really talented draft. We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited to see who gets taken.
I just saw final word here on our very quick 30-minute turned into 60-minute
Yeah.
show. But Perfect Chicken says, I wish they had a competition for the All-Star game and Derby. And I agree. Why not? Right? Like maybe just do lower prizes, like a Sandlot type thing. But why not have a reason to plug in the guys that are in the All-Star game?
They did for the NBA All-Star game and the skills competition. So I'm surprised that they didn't, but
Too bad.
maybe just not enough participation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? But we'll sign it off with that. Thanks all for joining in the chat. Nate and I will be back next week. We're excited for the second half of the year. Good luck. Game week's probably over. So hope you had a good game week, and we'll see you around next Sunday.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace.